young girl on the streets of Kampala reports on duty very early in the morning to do the job she's hired to do, begging. Her efforts to take back home money come from a whole day of consistent begging on cars waiting on traffic. When I try to speak to her, she tells me this is her only job she was assigned to do, and she reports back to her boss every evening.
Kati mu naku lumu okola sente meka? Mitwalo ebiri mu lunaku? Wiiki emu mitwalo ebiri. Ate olunaku lumu okola sente nga meka? 15, 12, 13.
So they're just not begging to earn a living, they're also hired to do the job with set targets. Her comments on the money she collects in a day trigger me to dig deeper to find out who is employing hundreds of street children. But first, how do they even get here in Kampala? I get information on the process. The story leads me to eastern Uganda, 295 kilometers away from the capital Kampala. Finally, I am at Arapai, a soroti suburb which hosts the second biggest market in eastern Uganda. On the surface, Arapai market would go for any ordinary market with several merchandise which include clothing and grocery. We are then told by our sources that it is in this market that girls are paraded to be sold like commodities and merchandise. The market is weekly and takes place every Thursday. We arrived 24 hours earlier. Looks like all is set for the big market day, Thursday. What you see here are local houses temporarily built to fit the market demand. Busy is the best description of the Arapai market. At 7 a.m., we set off to identify victims of the trade. While we are at it, a truck carrying merchandise and young girls lead our way to the market. As they approach the market, the truck stops and the girls disembark as we watch from a distance. Had to find them, but at last, my sources lead me to temporary structures we filmed the previous day. Here rests a queue of young Karamoja girls lined up to be sold like commodities. Our attempts to buy the two girls are futile. It is still too early, we are told. And we are asked to hold on for only two reasons. First, the numbers are still low and so we are not exposed to variety. And the other is that the girls need to figure out what to eat or it will be a hungry day. This is where the food for weeks is sorted. Those who sell pork expose the starving girls to a whole plate of food, pig's intestines. As the traders slaughter pigs, the Karamoja girls settle for the intestines, making the principle of the early bird catches the worm a reality. This goes on for a while before the girls aged between 8 and 14 finally make their way back to the market. They are now ready to bargain. We brief them of their destinations. They look less interested on what exactly they are going to do. They all hail from Napak, we are told. It is easy to survive here in Soroti because of the related language both Karamoja and Itosots use. I am curious to prove the claims on human trade. Both girls are ready to be sold off. One girl informs us that she trekked from Soroti to Moroto without her mother, and therefore a phone call to the mother will arrive us at a settlement. 40,000. 50,000. 70,000 shillings. Again with the girl's mother on phone on what amount she should be sold off. We don't seem to agree. As soon as I get cash out of my pockets, the mother to the second girl settles for 50,000.
Give them this when we get change. So we're taking this one.
Yeah.
Having paid off, I move away with the girl. The mother is unbothered where her daughter is headed, but she rather settles for 50,000 other than starve to death. I am told the business of a community preying on their own children is booming here. We don't stop here. Our second target is not too far. A mother of 3 is ready to sell off her 3 children. We only attempt to buy 2. She's hungry for the money. This might help her afford a decent meal for months. And just like that, the girls she gave birth to are bought off.
Nice time, Mama. Okay, see you. Inshallah.
Young Karamojong girls have been bought off. It is not a secret. It is done in the open under the watchful eye of the local authorities. We ask the local police that should be charged with curbing child trafficking. They play a blind card.
We have not heard of it. But we're always on the ground. Since I reported here, I've never received such email.
But all this looks like a cover-up. The district probation officers attached to the Ministry of Gender are aware of this trade.
They transit them into Soroti, to Busia, Malaba, Kenya, different places, and Kampala streets. So Soroti is a 3-phase. It's a transit center. At the same time, it is a harboring place where they meet, and at the same time, we receive them. And we have tried with the police to ensure that we try to block this, but it has been a vice that is very minimal, that persons do not pick interest because the beneficiaries abroad, it's the business community, the working class persons, people who want maids, people who want herdsmen, people who want to buy scrap, people who want to sell eggs, that kind of thing.
And now the girls are picked from Karamoja region, concentrated in Napak, Moroto, Nakapiripit and Kabong, and moved to Soroti using trucks.
As leaders in Teso, we know it. Soon the dry spell is going to come, and Teso is going to be having influx of both women from Karamoja and children.
As they get here, those who consider themselves lucky are bought off and taken to urban centers like Mbale, Jinja, Uganda, and finally the capital, Kampala. While they are brought here, begging is one of the choices. Research has revealed that over 2,600 children aged between 7 and 17 are living on the streets in Kampala alone. While the Karamojong are one of the largest tribes on the streets, girls occupy 96% of all Karamojong street kids. Their plight is telling. Uncertain of how much they take home, Damon Wamala, County Director of Dwelling Places, believes that those who give beggars money are facilitating child trafficking.
Giving money to these children on the streets is encouraging them to come to the streets, and is encouraging not the children, but is also encouraging the traffickers to benefit, and the traffickers are the ones who are benefiting at the end.
Those who have outgrown the trade have joined the rest of their colleagues downtown Kampala. This place has been nicknamed Karamoja because of the thousands of Karamojong living here. Corrupt livelihoods, poverty is what can best describe the community here. At night, the Karamojong teenagers who have outgrown the streets have been forced into prostitution as their best alternative.
Nzijawo nimbasanga bannange wano nsiba nabo naye nga nsula side bali eri.
For me, I don't have a work. I just stay there. For me, I need someone to do what? To help me. This is Tina.
What they earn from the commission goes to those who run the cartels. This room right here is where more than 6 girls spend a night, each paying about 500 shillings to find a pleasant sleep until morning. The business is growing, we are told. The children are trafficked for labor or sex against existing law, raising questions of why it is silent and why it is not being enforced. The chairman of this trade has tried to fight the vice, but there are not many alternatives.
You can't say this is Karamoja. It's now they are smart. Since you are now going down, you will see them. They are now getting some smaller jobs in order to avoid that system of going on the streets.
Those who have managed to hustle their way out squeeze oil out of pork meat and sell it independently as cooking oil to those who can't afford the processed one. Here in Karamoja, Katwe, Makinde division is where more than 1,000 Karamojong have found a pleasant place to call a second home. They have started off small jobs around the places they live in so they can make themselves comfortable. But most importantly, they have kept themselves closer to the city because of the opportunities available. Herbert Ariko, Member of Parliament for Soroti, where the business of trading human life has become normal, is aware of what is happening back home and says he's in the process of drafting a bill that will tighten the loose ends of the old bill.
The issue of protection of victims of modern slavery. You know, modern slavery sometimes is such that you go through gruesome experiences, you go through torture, you go through a lot of experience. Now, should this become a matter of trial, the victims are supposed to testify, they're supposed to give evidence, and yet you know that the cartels that run trafficking in persons and slavery gangs are very vicious, very powerful. So how do you help the victim to be able to provide evidence and yet not suffer reprisals from these people?
The new proposed bill will move further to punish those who aid traffickers.
Because these children don't travel in any other way but in the buses. The traffickers, it is not that there's a special way that they force them to walk like slaves all the way from Karamoja to Kampala. They use the buses, they use the transport systems that exist. But what are the passengers in the bus doing about it?
Even though these children haven't gotten an opportunity to leverage on a livelihood, it is an obligation of the state to protect children, and the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development in particular is charged with this.
Because we want to charge any trafficker of a child like somebody who has killed somebody. Because the intention of trafficking oftentimes are many. It could be trafficking with the intention of taking them as sex slaves, but it could be the intention of killing.
As much as hunger is a pull factor to human trafficking, the gradual breakdown of the moral fabric in society cannot be overlooked.
One of the key challenges that follows the moral decadence is the issue of desperation in people.
That is where the government, that is where the people need to build up more. It is possible for them to stay home. It is possible. It is also possible for these children to stay away from being exposed to traffickers, to stay away from being exposed to the streets, if we keep these children and push that these children are placed in schools.
This form of modern-day slavery has taken advantage of the desperate girls and their vulnerability of their situations, thus encouraging the perpetrators to find new forms of child trafficking. Canary Mugume, NBS investigates.